On March 6, 2025, a man pulled his Tacoma into my bay holding a tire shop receipt and a brand new set of tires that were barely 8 months old. He wasn't angry, he was embarrassed. "I just bought these," he said. "And the guy told me they're already worn out on the edges. He wants to sell me 4 more. He thought he had done something wrong. He thought he was hard on his truck. He thought maybe Toyotas just eat tires. Today, I am revealing why moments like this almost never mean you abused your tires, and how one tiny number, a number a tire shop punches in without thinking, quietly destroys your tread, your fuel economy, and your wallet, while a dashboard light stays completely dark. I have seen this exact scene play out hundreds of times. A driver rolls in convinced their tires failed early because of bad luck, rough roads, or a heavy foot. They brace for a lecture about alignment. They brace for another set of tires. And almost every time, the real culprit is something nobody ever told them to check. It is not the alignment. It is not the brand. It is not how they drive. It is the pressure. And more specifically, it is one number that has quietly become the default setting across the entire industry: 32 PSI. Here is the uncomfortable truth most drivers never hear. When you take any vehicle to a quick lube, a gas station, or even a lot of tire shops, the person filling your tires is not looking up your truck. They are not opening your door. They are not reading your manual. They reach for the air hose and punch in 32. Every car, every truck, every SUV, 32, 32, 32. It is the lazy default of the whole business, and on a Toyota truck, it is frequently the wrong answer in both directions. I have been turning wrenches for over 2 decades, and I can tell you that tire pressure is the single most misunderstood number in car ownership. People treat it like a suggestion. They treat it like one universal figure that applies to everything with 4 wheels. But that number was never meant to be universal. Every vehicle is engineered with its own specific pressure, calculated from the weight of the vehicle, the size of the tire, how the load sits over each axle, and how the suspension was tuned. That is why the right number lives in one place and one place only: the placard on the driver's door jamb. Open your driver's door and look at the metal frame near where the latch sits. You will find a yellow and white sticker. It lists a front pressure and a rear pressure. That is the number the engineers who built your truck want in your tires, not the gas station's number, not the tire shop's number. That one. And here is where Toyota trucks get interesting, because their factory numbers surprise almost everyone. A lot of stock Tacomas call for around 30 PSI front and rear. Plenty of Tundras and 4Runners on factory tires are spec'd even lower on the front axle. Figures like 29 PSI on the front and 32 PSI on the rear are common. So when the tire shop blindly sets all 4 to 32 PSI, they are not being generous. On many of these trucks, they are overinflating the front tires past what the engineers intended, and overinflation has consequences you can see and feel. When a tire carries more air than it should, it stops sitting flat on the road. The center of the tread bulges down, and the shoulders lift slightly off the pavement. Now only the middle strip of rubber is doing the work. That center strip wears down fast while the outer edges stay fresh. And one day, a tech runs his hand across your tread, feels the worn middle, and tells you that you need tires. You bought 4 tires early because of 2 extra pounds of air. On top of that, an overinflated tire has a smaller contact patch, less rubber gripping the road, which means longer braking distances and a harsher, bouncier ride. People feel their Toyota crashing over expansion joints and assume the suspension is worn out. Half the time it is just too much air. But here is the part that should really bother you, because the same lazy 32 pounds per square inch cuts the other way too. Put a serious set of tires on your truck, the heavier light truck tires, the load range C and E tires that off-road and towing owners run, and 32 pounds per square inch is suddenly far too low. Those tires have thick, stiff sidewalls built to support real weight, and they often need 36 to 40 pounds per square inch on the street just to hold the truck up properly. Run a stiff 10-ply tire at 32 pounds per square inch, and the sidewall folds under the load. The tire flexes where it should be rigid, and it builds heat. Heat is the #1 killer of tires. So the same magic 32 that overinflates a stock Tacoma will underinflate an upgraded one. One number cannot be right for both. It is right for almost nothing. Now you are probably thinking the same thing every driver thinks at this point. If my tire pressure were really wrong, wouldn't the truck warn me? Wouldn't the little light come on? And this is the trap. This is the part the system never explains. Your tire pressure warning light is not your friend. It is a legal minimum, and the bar is shockingly low. Federal law requires the warning to come on only when a tire drops 25% or more below the recommended pressure. Not when it is a little low. Not when it is wrong. 25% below 30 is 22.5 pounds per square inch. That means your tire can sag all the way down to roughly 22 or 23 pounds, dangerously soft, flexing, heating up, wearing the edges, killing your fuel economy, and that dashboard light will stay perfectly dark the entire time. The system was never designed to keep your tires correct. It was designed to scream only when a tire is nearly flat. Everything in between, the entire range where your tread and your money quietly bleed away, is invisible to it. So you have a number that is usually wrong, set by someone who never looked at your truck, monitored by a light that only fires when you are halfway to a blowout. And the slow damage stacks up exactly the way it does with every other problem I talk about on this channel. It does not happen all at once. Your tires wear a little unevenly each month. Your fuel economy slips a fraction of a mile per gallon at a time. Your ride gets a little harsher or a little squishier. Nothing screams, no light, no noise, just a slow, expensive drift away from how your truck was meant to roll. And then, one day, a tire shop runs a hand over your tread and tells you it is time to buy. And here is the part that makes this uncomfortable for the industry. Think about who benefits when your tires wear out early. The tire shop does not make money keeping your tires alive for 60,000 miles. They make money when you come back at 35,000. The 2 pounds of air that scallop your edges, the stiff tire run too soft that overheats and cups, the front pressure set too high that wears the center bald. None of that is a conspiracy exactly, but notice that nobody in the chain is paid to get it right. The gas station attendant is not paid to look up your placard. The quick lube tech rotating your tires in 4 minutes is not paid to set each axle to spec. And the tire shop that sells you the replacements has very little reason to explain that the last set died from a setting, not from wear. The incentive points one direction, and it is not toward your wallet. Let me be honest with you, the way I always am, because tire pressure is also where people overcorrect and create new problems. Some drivers hear all this and decide more air is the safe bet, and they pump everything up to the number stamped on the tire itself. Do not do this. That big number on your sidewall that says something like max press 44 PSI or 51 PSI is not a target. It is a ceiling, the absolute most that tire can hold before its structure is at risk. Filled to that, and you are driving on a balloon with a tiny contact patch, terrible grip, longer stops, and a ride that rattles your fillings loose. The sidewall number tells you what the tire can survive. The door jamb number tells you what your truck actually wants. Those are two completely different things, and confusing them is how people trade one wear problem for another. There is one more layer almost nobody accounts for, and that is temperature. Air pressure moves with the weather, roughly 1 PSI for every 10 degrees of temperature change. So, a truck set perfectly in summer can be several pounds low by the first cold snap, and a tire filled at a warm shop reads 3 or 4 pounds higher than it will once it cools. This is exactly why so many dealers and shops quietly overinflate in the first place. They pump tires up extra so the low pressure light does not nag the customer when temperatures drop. And they would rather hand you a too hard truck than field a complaint. The fix is simple. Check your pressure cold before you have driven on it, first thing in the morning. A tire you just drove for 20 minutes is warm and lying to you. Cold is the only honest reading. So here is what to actually do, and it costs you nothing. Buy a decent pencil or digital gauge for a few dollars. Do not trust the gauge on the gas station hose. They are almost always off. Open your driver's door and read your placard. Note the front number and the rear number, because they are often different, and that difference matters. If you are running upgraded light truck tires, understand that your placard assumes the stock tires, and you will likely need more than it says, and the chalk test will tell you where you actually sit. Then check all 4 cold once a month and set each axle to its real number. That is the whole secret. That is the thing the tire shop hopes you never start doing, because a driver who keeps his pressures honest is a driver who gets every last mile out of a set of tires and comes back years later instead of months. Once you understand this, a worn set of tires stops being a mystery and becomes information. Edges gone but the center fine, you were running too soft. Center gone but the edges fine, too hard. Tread cupped and noisy, heat and flex from the wrong pressure under load. The tire is telling you exactly what was done to it, and now you can read the story instead of just paying for the ending. You stop being the driver who shrugs and assumes Toyotas eat tires, and you become the driver who knows his truck does not eat anything. It is not fed. That Tacoma owner did not abuse his truck. He trusted a number a stranger punched in 8 months earlier, and that number quietly ground the edges off 4 good tires while a dark dashboard told him everything was fine. The cruelest part is that the fix was free the entire time. It was sitting on his door jamb, 3 inches from his knee, every single time he climbed in. So before you blame your driving, before you blame the brand, before you let anyone sell you a set of tires you should not need yet, open the door, read the placard, check them cold, and set each axle to its own number. 2 pounds of air is the difference between tires that last and tires that don't. If this changed the way you think about that little air hose, hit like so more Toyota owners stop overpaying for tires they killed by accident. Subscribe if you want weekly breakdowns that put control back in your hands instead of the shops. And if you have ever had a tire shop set your truck to 32 pounds per square inch without ever opening your door, drop it in the comments. Because the most expensive tire is not the one that wears out. It is the one that never had to.